What's up, golf fans, and welcome to the Golf Show on the Grooving Truth Sports Network. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lukas, Weese, here with my other co-host, Steve Risley. Steve, how you doing after Americans losing on the weekend? Sorry for your loss.
I'm doing great because I've been on PGAtour.com buying all USA golf shirts, Ryder Cup golf shirts, and merchandise for 90% off. They told me if I buy one item, they'll send me 10 for free, and ship it over to me too. They're sending me a staff bag and everything. They're just like, geez, would somebody please come and represent us? And wanted to know if I was interested in playing on the next Ryder Cup team, if I had any kind of passion for the game of golf at all. But other than that, it's just another wonderful day.
Well, let's just get right into it, Steve, and talk about the Ryder Cup.
Let's just do.
Because just get it off our chest. Last week, of course, the 2018 Ryder Cup took place in Le Golf National. We've been talking about it all on the Golf Show for the last few weeks. It finally happened, but it was the Europeans that dominated the Americans 17.5 to 10.5 to retain the Ryder Cup. And Steve, there was a lot of talk about the Americans. I mean, could this be the team that could break the 25-year streak? There was a lot of talk that this was the best Ryder Cup team going to Europe. But once again, like we talked about on the show, the Europe's ability to come together as a team and work towards a common goal, I think was at an all-time high. And you could just see about the way they played, the way they celebrated, and just how emotional they were. They wanted to win the Ryder Cup and bring it back to Europe. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. This could take about 5 hours to sum up. Basically, we stunk. But essentially, I've always said in coaching sports or being part of high-performing teams, I will always take a high-performing team over a team of high performers. Now, what you had here was a classic breakdown of Europe being a high-performing team. They paired their players well. They complimented each other. They supported each other. They cheered each other on. And they acted like a high-performing team. The United States looked, walked, played, interacted like a team of high performers, where there was little dialogue really going on between them, maybe because there was little to celebrate. But I think more so than that, I just think that golf in the United States is more of a Me Too thing, and it's generally day in and day out in the United States. Golf is not always about American pride. It's just about winning tournaments. And you go to Europe, and it's true with any sport in Europe. If you go, the fanatical fans over there, the Tour de France, Formula One, soccer, you can go to golf, tennis, you can go down the list, and there's just a fanaticism and a pride that's so much greater with the teams that represent either a specific country in Europe or all of Europe that the United States just totally lacks. It just totally lacks that red, white, and blue spirit. It just wasn't there at all. It's like you could tell by the mood that guys, while they were being cordial to each other, be it Patrick Reed and Tiger or Phil and Tiger or Bubba and anybody. I don't think Bubba even liked himself this week.
No.
I don't think he was even happy, even liked being with himself. Act like he didn't want to be there. Half the guys act like they didn't want to be there. You got some fire out of Justin Thomas. And, DJ was just like, oh, I'm number one. I should just win because I'm number one. And these guys they're really not even in the hunt. I mean, it turned out, and I watched it all. I mean, I taped delayed it because it was on at 11 o'clock at night, started here and ran all night in Los Angeles. But it was mundane and boring. There really was nothing ever really exciting about the whole thing. I think at one point we got it within 1 or 2 points on Sunday, but we were losing so many of the back matches that you knew it wasn't going to stick anyway. So and we'll get into this in a little bit, but it's disappointing. And I don't know, Lukas, and maybe you can address this, and I'll ask you this question. Are we bunching up too much big stuff too close to the end of the season?
Yeah.
Are we doing this where we got the PGA, we've got the Tour Championships, we've got the FedEx Cup, and then a week later we throw the Ryder Cup? Is it just too much to where, golf is a strong mental game? It takes a lot of mental fortitude to play that game. I know I've played it for over 30 years. I'm sure you played it most of your life. And it's a mental game. And is it just to the point to where we need to spread this stuff out and maybe do the Ryder Cup maybe at a more dead period of time when there's something to be more excited about going into a big-time golfing event and playing, rather than just cramming it in with everything else at the end of the year? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to say this. I think that fatigue definitely played a factor. I mean, when you look at a guy like Tiger Woods, of course, just won the 80th, his 80th event at the Tour Championship. This was his 7th event in 9 weeks. And that's the same like a lot of guys dating all the way back. I mean, if you played the World Golf Championship at Akron, the PGA, you take a week off, then you got the FedEx Cup, like you said. It is too bunched together. And I just don't think you get the best quality of golf because these guys come in and especially when you have to travel all the way across the ocean, they're tired. But the good news is with the new PGA Tour changes, with, of course, the FedEx Cup ending earlier in August, what you're going to have is that you're going to have more preparation time for these players, because the Ryder Cup will still be in September, but it'll be a month after the FedEx Cup ends in August with these new PGA Tour events, changes with the FedEx Cup. So I think that's a good thing, because I think what you want on both sides is fresh players coming in, and let's see what you got. But that being said, though, Steve, there were players on both teams that had to battle the fatigue. They played a lot of golf, but it just seemed to me that, like we just said, Europe was just way more into it. And I just think that Thomas Bjorn just found that great balance in finding the proper pairings that just clicked at the right time. And it doesn't matter if they liked each other or not. They were playing together to win the Ryder Cup. And you can't say anything much more about Tommy Fleetwood and Francesco Molinari, what they did going 5-0. But fatigue was easy. But, these guys, they're used to playing a lot of golf. And to me, that shouldn't give America a pass for the not so great play that they displayed. They still need to, if the Europeans, some of them went and played a lot of golf and go out and hit the shots, then certainly the Americans can, given that there were 9 major champions on that team who know how to play golf. So I think that the schedule changes are going to be good. So both teams will come in more fresh. But in this instance, I just don't like the fact that, was fatigue a factor? Yes, but there's a lot more than just fatigue when it comes to the Americans' demise in Europe.
Yeah, it's almost like it's apathy. And I don't want to. Did Molinari and Fleetwood both go 5-0, or did Fleetwood actually lose?
No. So Molinari went 5-0. Fleetwood went 4-1.
4-1, but still,
still
unbelievable. The tournament. They were so fun to watch play together, and they just thoroughly enjoyed kicking American ass. and that's what it was. It was like, and they just were having fun, and everybody, and and then you got Tiger Woods goes 0-4 or 0-5, 0-4.
Yeah.
Phil doesn't even play Phil plays twice out of 5 matches, basically, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I question a lot of things here. And I was listening to some chatter on the Golf Channel earlier today and trying to pick up some of the things that they were saying. And Chambly had a good, but Randall Chambly, who's been kind of critical of the Americans before, and not really a big fan of Tigers, and he came out and basically said, golf, the way they select the Ryder Cup team, is the only sport. By the way, Milwaukee just beat Chicago 3-1. In case anybody wasn't DVRing it. Yeah. And Dodger Stadium looks beautiful, and I had tickets to the game, and I'm doing this radio show instead. Dadgummit. Oh well. But he said that the Ryder Cup is the only team sport that the United States participates in. That basically the team's not selected by the coaches, but essentially you win your points and earn your way on. Have we outgrown that? I mean, is the system antiquated in the sense that we get guys that go through hot spurts? Because we know golf is all about streaks. It's about you get hot, you win 4 or 5 tournaments in a row, a la Justin, Jordan Spieth, somebody. Then you just fall off the face of the earth for a while. Then you come back. Tiger. I mean, every golfer, Nicklaus, they've all done it. So it's not an uncommon problem. It's just the way it is for that game. It's just hard to be up every weekend to play golf. So has our selection process put us in a position, although it's basically the same selection process for Europe, and it's working well for them, but are we just in a situation where we need to give the captain more leeway to pick his own team and put his own stamp on it based on his culture? Like maybe this team wasn't anywhere near Furyk's culture. He couldn't relate to the team. He couldn't get. I mean, they just seemed like they didn't care to be around each other. And not that they were mad at each other. They didn't seem like they wanted to socialize or do anything together. And is Furyk just handcuffed by taking what the point system gives him and go from there? I don't know. Maybe it's time to revamp the selection process, but we're barely eking them out in the United States, and we're getting drummed overseas. And I can't fault the golf course. That golf course was as an American golf course as I've ever seen. I mean, that was not a European link style golf course where they would have any great advantage of. That was a very difficult golf course, the way they had it set up. But Europe handled it, and we did not. I've never seen more balls hit into the water. I mean, Ricky Fowler, I think at one point, whoever he was
3 holes in a row.
3 holes in a row, he put balls in the water. I mean, I've never seen a tour player do that. I don't think I've ever seen a tour player other than John Daly at number, 6 at Bay Hill one year where he was trying to drive the par 5 over the lake. I think he put 9 in, and Bob Tway put like 7 in at Sawgrass at 17 one time. But, other than that, it wasn't the course because it was equal to both of them. It was an American layout, and we just so apathetic in how we went about it. I don't know. Well, maybe the selection process needs to change.
Well, let me just first comment on the course because I do agree with you.
Before you go there, let me say this. I'll shut up after this for sure and let you have the mic.
Go ahead.
What I said to myself at the end of the tournament, I almost wish they'd take the Walker Cup team and go play. Take the frickin' college kids.
Yeah.
Those kids would go out there and be rah-rah, go get it, play their hearts out. And, I don't know the mindset is that different. Those guys, most of the guys that play at that level of college golf can play at the pro level too. It's almost like going back to the days of the Olympic basketball team where we always sent our college kids over to play against everybody else's pros and still kick their butt because our kids played with enthusiasm and they were playing for America. Now these guys on the NBA that go there and play are playing for themselves, for shoe contracts, for more bargaining power with the contract. And I almost feel that the tour players were like, I kind of made the team. I kind of got to go. Kind of got to get on the plane and go. I really don't want to go. All of Bubba Watson. It's like, but I got to be there. Now, that's my thought. Go ahead and comment on that. Comment on everything else you want to.
Yeah, so I'll just start off with the golf course. I mean, because we've been talking about on the show, you're right. It was an American setup, but I just think what the Europeans did was really stress about hitting the ball in the fairway. And it wasn't necessarily the longest golf course in the world. And you got to understand that for the American team, a lot of those guys favor those long courses like, the Brooks Koepka, the Dustin Johnson, the Bubba Watson, where they can bomb it out there. This wasn't that type of course. It was narrow, and then, of course, the rough just, punished players if they hit it in the rough. So I think, this, of course, it was set up like an American golf course, but I think that where the Europeans said, okay, let's take advantage of the fact that we are better ball strikers overall in terms of accuracy than the Americans, and they just proved that. I mean, because Lord knows, as we said, the amount of balls that the Americans had in the water, in the rough, it just killed them. I think, when you and then that resulted, of course, in just that the Americans not being able to drain a putt. I mean, I watched the Friday foursome sweep the Europeans did to the Americans, and the Americans just couldn't putt to save their lives. It was like every American golfer had the yips on the putter, whereas the Europeans were just draining all those putts. So
yeah, and the greens weren't that tricky. I didn't think the greens were that tricky at all. I know they were set up, but they weren't some diabolical Pinehurst number 2 crowned diabolical greens that nobody can putt on. These were fair greens. I thought the greens in the fifth place were not unfair. I mean, these are shots that the tour players should be able to hit the ball to and put themselves in position. They should be able to lag putt or drain 15, 20 footers. I did not think the greens were out of touch with reality at all.
No, I even thought that East Lake greens were tougher than Le Golf.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They were faster.
And the Europeans still took advantage. But let me just get to, the proposed rule change, because it is interesting about the way, the teams are selected. I just think that it would be interesting to see if if the captain did have more power, because the problem is you may have a golfer or a few golfers who had a great start to the season. Take Bubba Watson, for example. He won 3 times. Can you believe it? 3 times. But all those 3 tournaments were at the start of the year. So then, he gets instantly qualified, but I bet there are better golfers who weren't selected who would have done way better than Bubba Watson. I mean, Bubba Watson has like a 1-in-8 Ryder Cup record. I mean, it's just crazy. And I just think, though, that I think with, the problem is, when you do that, then the captain can get criticized even more. And it opens that door for a lot more criticism where you may leave off a really good player, but, you may leave off a good player who had a great year, but because he doesn't get along with the captain or the other players, he was left off.
Well, so, I mean, isn't that part of the process, though, Lucas? I mean, isn't it the captain's team to build? Well, why have a captain then? Why not just assign 12 players to go out? Why do you even have a captain? If somebody's not going to be able to stand up there and make decisions and make them in a sense,
true.
What's the whole selection process about picking a captain? Just anoint the head of the PGA of America. He's the captain of the Ryder Cup team. And we vote these 12 players on. They win their way all on by points, and we'll let them kind of pair this. Who feels like playing with who today? And I mean, I don't buy that at all. I think these guys get paid a lot of money. They're highly trained professionals. It's a position that all you and I would kill to be in, to be there selecting Ryder Cup teams to play together and be over there and get the gear and be in the spotlight. And I've been to a Ryder Cup before. And I've seen it actually up close and impersonal, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. But I don't think that that's it. I think the problem is there's not enough of that goes on. I think now retrospectively he was a suspect choice. We talked about 3 weeks ago, Mickelson was a bad choice.
It was.
He was just a terrible choice. I mean, they didn't even use him. You know, I mean, it's a bad choice, but he's a sentimental pick. I would venture to say this is his last Ryder Cup as a player.
Oh, for sure.
Unless he plays his way onto the team under the current status, you know, the way to earn your way on the team. But I don't see with the performance he put on this time, I don't see him being selected again. Tiger probably will, because Tiger still is a dynamic draw for television, and I believe Tiger's going to win again. But you got some guys who didn't do themselves any justice or favor if they have to come down to be put on the team by a captain's pick anymore.
No.
You know.
And Steve, when you think that Thomas Bjorn's 4 captain's picks, who we, you know, talked about, you know, the Sergio Garcia, the Ian Poulter, Henrik Stenson, Paul Casey, those guys all won on Sunday. And they
performed
won
admirably.
throughout the week. And it just, again, goes to show you, like, you look at a guy like Sergio and Ian Poulter, those are 2 guys that in the regular tour, they don't play as well as they do in the Ryder Cup, because the Ryder Cup, you know, gives them that inspiration. It gives them that energy to go out there because they're playing for a greater purpose. They're playing for their country. They're playing for Europe. I mean, Sergio felt that. He actually passed Nick Faldo as the all-time Ryder Cup leader in points. And this is the same guy who, since winning the Masters, couldn't make it. Who vanished.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Vanished from the golf world. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you look at the American. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and like I'll just say this. I just think that, you know, when you look at these Europeans, you know, they just wake up for this event. And, you know, I don't know, you know, I think every captain is different. I don't know, you know, what Jim Furyk was like behind the scenes. But I just don't, you know, I think captain, you know, in the moment needs to inspire, but it's very difficult when you have a large proportion of the players who just couldn't care less to be there. They could, you know, and it's just so disrespectful because, like you said, there's so many Americans out there, so many American golfers who would kill to wear the red, white, and blue, be patriotic, and play for their country with pride. And that's just frustrating. And I'm not even American, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I think there are Americans that would embrace it. I don't feel that most of this team embraced playing for the American side of the Ryder Cups. I think they felt it more of a duty or an obligation to be there, or they had earned their right to be there. But I did not get the sense that a lot of the players, the American players, embraced the event. I just think it's like they went through the chores. And is the solution possibly to select a Ryder Cup captain, let's say like a Davis Love, and say, you're our Ryder Cup captain for the next 10 Ryder Cups?
Yeah.
And kind of almost put somebody in there who the players know what they're going to get in their captain, who knows how to motivate players, who knows the players. But, and I used to use Davis Love as a name. I mean, it doesn't have to be Davis Love. If it's Jim Furyk, I don't know. But we say that for the next 20 years, Jim Furyk's, 50 years old. For the next 15 years, 10 years, you are going to be the Ryder Cup captain. It's yours. You will be involved in the selection process. Maybe pare it down to where there's maybe 4 or 5 automatic qualifiers, and the rest are captain selections or committee selections.
Yep.
You know, and you do something along those lines where it's so different every 2 years that there's no continuity that it seems like with the United States. And I keep going back and saying it's not a lot of different for Europe because they change captains all the time too. But they just seem to have the common goal of embracing playing in the event for Europe and kicking the Americans' ass, where I think the Americans just don't care. It's what it appears to be. I mean, I find it hard to believe these guys don't care. I don't ever want to believe that about my heroes in the golf course, but that's the vibe they gave off this weekend. It was like, ugh. Wow, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and delaying watching the NASCAR race, delaying watching the F1 race, not paying full much attention to the red zone because I want to watch the Ryder Cup, and this is the best effort you're going to give me. And, not even going to the golf course to play because I want to watch it and not have to hear about it later. So I don't know. But I think there's some changes that need to come down in how the United States approaches this thing. Maybe we got too fat and happy because in the early days we won so easily when it was pretty much just Great Britain. And we were, running away with it every year, and it became mundane for us. And we never shifted out of that gear when the entire European team came on board. I think, 79, wasn't that the first year that they allowed all teams from different countries to play? Yeah, that's when Seve and those guys came in. That's when the Big Five came in: Langer, Seve, Faldo, Sandy Lyle, and one other one. Ian Woosnam were considered the Big Five that jumped into that. And 79, that's when they started winning. And we haven't made a paradigm shift to join the modernization of the Ryder Cup. And we win at home, you're right, probably because we're sleeping closer to our own beds. The travel's not as bad. You've got more family around, and you're probably playing on some courses you're a little more familiar with. It's like, but I think there definitely needs to be a revamping of how we select our team, how we manage our team, and what our expectations are of our players. And if that means not taking the Dennis Johnsons and Jordan Spieth and Tiger Woods, did Jordan even play this weekend? I think I saw him out there once or twice.
So he played all. No,
did he do anything? Did he win anything?
He did. I mean, he was paired with Justin Thomas. Now, of course, Justin Thomas. I think he rode on the coattails of Justin Thomas.
That's right. He was on the first day.
Ryder Cup
and
player.
They won, didn't they?
They did. They won.
Yeah, so why do you break it up? Why do you break? I mean, Europe didn't. They let Fleetwood and Molinari say, "Hey, run the shot," or you guys are kidding. Why am I breaking you guys up?
Well,
why in the world am I going to take you two guys apart? You're kicking everybody. You're kicking Tiger's butt.
Well, Steve, and this goes to my next point about in Ryder Cup management, in tournament management by the captain.
Yeah.
I think Jim Furyk was so interested in pleasing all the golfers because Lord knows the flack you would get if he sat Phil Mickelson to Sunday or Tiger Woods to Sunday or Bubba Watson to Sunday. There's no way Phil Mickelson should have been playing instead of Brooks Koepka or Tony Finau, who won in the morning on Friday. But the Europeans don't do that.
That's the weakness of having. That's the weakness of having an active player be a captain. Is that there is that fellowship. I've got to be paired with him.
Exactly.
I've got to play with him. I live in the neighborhood he lives in. I'm on the PGA Tour board with him. I mean, I think they should go outside and just select a Ryder Cup captain and that person serves for a period of time, and it's his full-time job. He's paid by the PGA Tour of America, a salary. I mean, obviously he's free to play golf and do what he wants to do. But, there are some great golfing legends and geniuses out there.
For sure.
Tour players who know this game as well as anybody and would probably do a better job of setting up and organizing the team and getting some motivation out of the guys. I think so. I don't think it hurt the TV ratings or anything like that. I don't know.
No.
I think the fact that it was in France and was shown at 3 a.m. hurt the TV ratings. The first thing you do is get up and get on Twitter and find out who won. I think that hurts more than anything. But I think that we are not putting ourselves in a legitimate position to win. Oh, tie goes to the runner. So I don't know. I think changes need to be made for us to be successful down the road. I applaud Europe. They were fun to watch. Molinari and Fleetwood were just a hoot. I mean, they were just fun. I mean, and just the joy on Casey's face, seeing him how he did when he did well, just
John Rahm being Tiger.
John Rahm. I mean, what that meant for a 23-year-old John Rahm to go out and just outdo Tiger Woods on an international stage. I thought Tony Finau was a bright spot for us.
For sure.
There's a guy who's going to make a mark. He's going to win some majors. I think some of the guys really, I guess they're going to stay true. They make so much money so fast and get so much notoriety and attention and so much buffer around them, like a Spieth or a DJ, that they don't really seem to have that ability or want to have that ability to grind it out unless it's just simply beneficial for them. It's just kind of how it looks like to me. And like I said, I don't know what Bubba was thinking. I would have put Bubba on the plane home. I said, Bubba, just go on home. You don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You're not. You've made it clear verbally you don't want to be here. So just pack up, take your stuff, take your gear. We'll play with 11
and go home.
It's okay. You're probably going to lose on Sunday anyway, so we'll just take the forfeit. But go home. It's kind of what it came across like.
Reed, I mean, Patrick Reed took to some to Twitter or to some radio station after, was very typical in Patrick Reed fashion. He was attacking the team, attacking Jordan Spieth for not wanting to play with Patrick Reed given their previous success. I mean, I know that Jim Furyk and the other golfers were trying to kind of paint this as a real camaraderie, but I didn't see it, Steve. And I think the changes that you were suggesting, especially about the captain, those make a lot of sense.
I think the captain's picked. Yeah, they need to go to a static captain. They should have a 10-year period of time and voted on by the PGA Tour of America, or the PGA. It's actually not even the Ryder Cup. Actually, doesn't even belong to the PGA Tour. It belongs to the PGA of America.
Correct.
Not the PGA Tour. Those are two separate entities. The PGA Tour is a separate entity from the PGA of America, and the Ryder Cup belongs to the PGA. So the PGA should just say, we're bringing this person on. We're going to bring Bob Knight on to be captain of the Ryder Cup team for the next 10 years. And don't be surprised if you don't have a golf bag winging down your head on the 8th green if you lip a 5-foot putt. It's like, Jesus.
That would be quite the show to see Bob Knight being the captain.
But there's got to be somebody. There's got to be somebody that the players would respect and not appear to, but would feel that we want to play for him. You get the sense that there was no sense that they wanted to play for Furyk. And again, we're not in the team room. We're not on the bus. No. We're not on the plane, so we don't know what's going on. All I know is what's projected on television. And none of that projected out to television. It didn't project out that we gave a damn whether we won or lost. And that bore out the results. We 3 balls in the water on 3 successive holes by Ricky Fowler. Come on, Ricky. My God. I probably could have avoided that. I mean, listen, if I got to, I'll just play 7-iron, 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 2-putt for a 5 instead of ball in the water, 6, 6, and 8. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, it's a big dollar event. It's a big hype event, and good for Europe. Good for Europe. I mean, they were
for sure.
They're just endearing themselves to everybody because they're winning every time now, and they're competing like hell when they come here. I mean, we don't win 17-12 when we play here. We win 14.5 to 14 or something when we win here.
Yeah.
And they go out and they just drum us. And so, I don't know.
Well, see,
what's next? Okay, so the Ryder Cup was a monumental disappointment.
It was.
In terms of the win. I mean, the event itself is fun.
Yeah.
It's a cool event. It's got all the poise, the pageantry. the spectacularness of the whole event, the flag waving of both sides of the pond, and all that's great. It was just all diminished by the lackluster play again by the United States and what seems to be just an unwillingness to become a high-performing team for 3 days, as opposed to rather still wanting to be a team of high performers. And I think that's the bottom line. I would strongly suggest they consider giving the captain a lot more leeway in building his team, and I would strongly suggest they consider getting a tenured captain for the Ryder Cup and saying it's a 10-year term to be captain of the Ryder Cup, 5 Ryder Cups, and you're the captain for 5 Ryder Cups. So you have 2 years to watch players, you have 2 years to build players, you have 2 years to formulate pairings, teams, and everything. And the players know it. The players know what's going to be expected. And, I mean, if a player doesn't want to play, just say, hey, just take me out of the running. I don't want to play on the Ryder Cup team. It's too much golf for me that time of year. I'm off. Which nobody will ever do because, financially it's a disaster. But I don't know. So what do we got next? Now the PGA Tour starts. The season starts this week, doesn't it?
What a long off season, Steve. What a long off season. We're already back.
We're starting the Safeway Open, I believe, up in Silverado. This is the first official event of the next year. Ryder Cup points are being earned this week. Am I not correct?
Here you go.
There you go. And guess
the preparation for Whistling Straits starts now at the Safeway Open this week in beautiful Napa Valley.
And you know who signed up to play, don't you? Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson, yeah.
Phil's
he
going to be there.
Earn himself back on the team.
Yeah, he's going to have to earn his way on this time if he wants to play.
Yeah.
But
fun fact, this is the most Canadians in the Safeway Open in history. A lot of Canadians are there, and it's just great to see that, a lot more golfers north of the border are, they have their tour cards, they're competing on a consistent basis. And this is the most at a regular PGA Tour event outside the Canadian Open. So very nice to see that. And, the great thing about the golf, Steve, is it's year-round. It's not like, football or baseball where you got to, you have a lull of just nothing happening. There's golf all year round now. We may not see the big-named, golfers until January where they go Torrey Pines or Pebble Beach but it's still pretty important to get off to a good start. As you say, Ryder Cup points are being accumulated. Of course, next year is the President's Cup, not as important as the Ryder Cup, but still that's what's being accumulated. And looking forward to the new season and, of course, these new changes to the schedule, which I think are such a great move by the PGA Tour to get all of it done before football season starts. And it's going to be great to watch.
Well, I think the big thing about the golf season right now, starting up this week, is we haven't mentioned yet, but winners go to the Masters.
Exactly.
It's an opportunity for a Canadian golfer to come in here without having to go through a Jordan Spieth or a Dustin Johnson or a Thomas or a great player, a Tiger, and get himself an invitation to the Masters. And we know that every golfer we know covets getting an opportunity to play in the Masters that isn't already locked in either through points or wins or to be able to play in the Masters. It's something I'm sure it's on my bucket list, and obviously we'll never get there, but it's certainly, I don't think there's a golfer in the world who's not on their bucket list to play around the golf at Augusta National.
For sure.
So this is a great opportunity for that. Golf still stays exciting. That the event being out here in Los Angeles, they promoted it pretty heavily out here. It's up in the Napa Valley. It's a beautiful time of year up there. It does kick off the next season, and then what do we have after that? We've got the Tiger Phil Challenge, which Jesus.
Which
I think after this week's performance, I don't think it did their I do not think it did their ticket sales any justice.
No.
But idiots are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
People are going to watch it. Yeah. So that's
I'll
the
watch
next
the
big
highlights.
event.
I'm boycotting it. I'm not paying that kind of money to watch it.
I'm not paying $29.95 to watch it either, because I don't think that either player will really care who wins or loses. I don't think they're not playing for their own money. They're playing for manufactured money. They're going to try and make it a PR thing where they're going to all be mic'd. They're both going to tell jokes with each other. And there may be some hole where a caddy hits a shot somewhere or something. I find it hard-pressed to believe that it's going to be for a green jacket or for a U.S. Open trophy or the claret jug or anything of that nature. It's just it's a social made-for-TV thing to do on the Friday after or Saturday after Thanksgiving, whichever day it is.
Yeah.
So, and to charge the $29.95 for it on top of that. So it won't get my money. There'll be film at 11.
No.
Somebody will put it on highlights, and we'll see it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Steve, I think we're going to wrap things up here on the golf show. As we just said, we have a lot to talk about in these next coming weeks with the PGA Tour season getting underway. I want to obviously thank everyone who tunes into the golf show. I want to thank, of course,
we tell everybody stay with us because we're not, we know that the Ryder Cup kind of was the end, but we have a lot to talk about. A lot happens in golf this time of year, and a lot of things like that, and there'll be some repercussions from the Ryder Cup as to what's going on, and there'll be equipment changes, and we hope to bring some guests on that maybe can provide some better insight. And I know I'm lining up a couple people who are big into golf and try and get them on as guests and talk more about the off season a little bit, and talk more about equipment. The PGA show in February always launches the newest technology. I saw Titleist just launched a new driver this week. How to buy your way to a better game. I got a great piece of advice one time, Lucas, and I'll leave it at this. After I bought my fourth new driver one summer from the pro at my golf club, he said, "Steve, I absolutely love your business. I love the fact that you come in here and spend $300 on a new driver every 2 or 3 months. But I got to give you some advice. It ain't the arrows, it's the Indians." He said, "You might want to try taking a lesson and use the one that you like and stick with it and get a lesson, because it ain't the arrows that's doing the damage. It's the Indians that are firing the arrows." And that's the greatest advice I ever got about golf equipment.
That is some great advice. I'll definitely take that into consideration when I get my new club. But anyway, Steve, always great to talk to you about golf. We'll be back next week, to break down the Safeway Open, the first PGA Tour event of the year. You, of course,
and LPGA, your senior PGA Tour and LPGA Tour, and it gets a little more time to focus on some of that as well.
Exactly.
We just went through the mid-ams, and there's always events going on outside of just the PGA Tour. We want to make sure we're covering on all ends of it. So there'll be news happening all throughout the winter on all facets of golf, and we will continue to cover it.
Absolutely. And, of course, you can find the Grueling Truth Sports Network where the golf show is on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Speaker, Stitcher, you name it, you can find the Grueling Truth Sports Network. So, for my co-host, Steve Risley, I'm Lukas Weese. You've been listening to The Golf Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network, where the legends speak.